Alright, the time has finally come to get started on the Dumont RA113. I haven't quite decided how I'm going to work on this because the focus electromagnet yoke and CRT are mounted in the cabinet. So although I have some little test CRTs, some 5-inch roundies and some 8-inch rectangular that I could plug into this, there's no yoke or focus coil. I'm pretty sure the focus coil is also part of the power supply. So I couldn't even power this up just to check the sound without those components. And I'll take a look inside the cabinet. For sure I don't want to unmount the picture tube, but maybe the yoke and focus coil will come off without too much trouble. But I know another guy restored them recently on video Karma, and he couldn't get his off. He couldn't get the yoke off. But I think that's because he repaired the CRT base and it was a little cockeyed or something like that. But even if I can get them off, I still don't know if I want to, because I don't want to mess up the adjustments. So what I might do is something I know some of you guys don't like to do, which is just blindly shotgun all the capacitors. In other words, just replace them all without even powering the setup. Put this back in the cabinet and then power it up. So we'll see. But for sure, I do want to try powering it up with the rectifier out. This is a single 5U4 because I want to see that power transformer's good. So with this out, boy, I see. It's got a springy base thing down there. Kind of clips it on. How the heck are you supposed to get in there to get that out? Huh. Anyways, eventually I'll get that out, and I want to power it up, which should just light up all the tube filaments. They're all wired in parallel, 6.3 volts. And I can use a multimeter and stick it down on the plate pins, and should get somewhere between 500 and 700 or 800 volts, I imagine. Otherwise, I should have all the parts on hand, except possibly something in here that I didn't realize I would need. There are 3 high voltage caps. You can see one right up here, one down there, and another one down there. I'm not sure what the value is, so I'm going to turn this guy. 500 picofarad, 10,000 volt. Maybe. I got something that I can use. 8,000 volts. I think I got some 10,000s, but I don't think the right value there. Yeah, they're 1,000 picofarad, whereas the original has 500 picofarad. Now it's for the voltage doubler. Doubling the capacitance probably would work. But I definitely want to replace those. These old wax and paper caps don't hold up very well to begin with, and for sure when you get 10,000 volts across them in the heart of the high voltage supply, you want to use some quality caps in there. As for working on the rest of it, you can get a lot of the parts with this board attached, but when you're working around the periphery, it's not so convenient, so I think I will unmount it from the board. Here's a look at the underside. So just take off 4 bolts and this board will come off. Here is schematic I printed out from Riders. So the power supply is actually fairly simple. There's some Dumonts that are a bit more complex, where they have a relay so that it doesn't trip on the B plus until the tubes have warmed up. This doesn't have that, so just 5U4, 2 filter chokes, and a couple electrolytics form the heart of the B plus supply for the set. So I'm going to pop that tube out, and what do they say? 380 volts AC. Now it's probably under load, so without a load, I imagine it's going to be a bit higher than that. I also have original Dumont factory service data. So, looks like the Riders is just a duplicate of this. A lot of the Riders service info is just a reproduction of the original factory service info. Well, one problem I got, it's I broke my flush cutters that I use typically on these sets to cut out all the parts. Wasn't doing anything crazy with it, just the metal fatigue finally got the better of it, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I have another one somewhere, new, still in the package. I can't find it. So, I'll have to make do with something in the meantime, because I definitely want to start working on this set tonight. Here are some of the parts I'll be using. Got them all from Mauser. All the resistors are metal film or metal oxide, flame proof. And Nichicon, high temp, long life, electrolytics. And for the capacitors, I'll be using either Nichicon or Mallory. Alright, I've pulled out the tube, ended up using a screwdriver to get down in here, to press on that locking ring. Odd setup. I don't know why they would sink the tube down in the depression like that. It just makes it really hard to get out. Also noticed that this tube looked like it was at an odd angle. Turns out that the socket is kind of mounted on springs. It's probably to reduce microphonics, you know, isolate this from the chassis if there was any vibration. So we're conducted to the tube. Alright, got plugged into my PR57, so we can check the current draw. And I've got my meter plugged into pins 4 and 6 on the 5U4 socket, so here goes. It's a little scary at first. When I turned it on, the meter just went poof, but then it came down right away. So that would be the cold tube filaments. Alright, 740 volts AC, so that'd be 350 on each side, or 60, 50, something like that. Or 370, I mean. Which is right about what they said. It said 380 on the schematic. And I've got this turned down a bit, so I've actually got less than 115 volts AC. Turn that up a little bit. And all the tubes are lit up, so awesome. Including the all the dial lights there. Just 3 of them around the dial for illumination. Alright, well that's a good start. So I will proceed. Turn this thing off. So, got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 electrolytics at least that I want to restuff. These two will be fairly easy. You can just loosen up these clamps and pop them out. These are the twist lock types, so I'll have to unsolder them from below and untwist the tabs and disconnect all the wires and all that fun stuff. Otherwise, just a whole bunch of paper caps to replace, and I'll check all the resistors and check all the tubes. So I'm going to get to it, and I'll pick up on recording video when something interesting comes up. I just did something inadvertent that I really hadn't planned on doing, but doesn't seem to have caused any problems, so I'll do it again. What I did is, after I stopped recording the video, I wanted to snap a photo to post online of all the tubes lit up, but Before I did that, I wasn't thinking, and I popped the 5U4 in there and then turned the set on. So I actually powered this thing up with partial juice. I won't say full juice because without the field coil, I'm not sure all the set's getting power. Well, maybe it is. Sometimes they use the focus coil, I meant to say. Sometimes they do double duty as like a filter choke, but no. So, well, what tipped me off that I did it was that I saw that the tuning eye tube was glowing. Don't think I got any high voltage though, but I'll just briefly show you the tuning eye. So it's a good sign. Set's drawing about 1.5 amps, just off the top of the scale there. And here is the tuning indicator. There we go. Alright. Enough of that. Turn this thing off. No, I said I don't have any high voltage because after I had this on, I picked up the high voltage lead and touched it to the... Well, actually, no, there was a bit of a spark there. Not the safest thing to do, but obviously I didn't shock myself. I don't quite have the nerve to bring this near the chassis while the set's turned on, but I've seen guys do it. As a crude way to test the high voltage. Yep, there's a spark. Alright. Not real strong, but we do have some high voltage, so also an excellent sign. Pretty good indicator the flyback is alright. Here it is with that hunk of plywood removed. Definitely easier to get at the components now. Which has led me to discover one immediate issue with working on this set. These capacitors, very, very sticky. And they've attracted a lot of dirt, so it's pretty hard to read the values on a lot of these. It's going to be a little annoying. So you'll have to scrape or heat the wax off to read the values. Well, I could just maybe go with the schematic, but I don't trust schematics 100%. Although this is from Dumont, so pretty good chance it's right. But what I plan on doing is trying to match up the component as I find them in the set with the schematic so I can cross them off as I replace them, and I'll compare the value that's stated on the cap to the value that's on the schematic. There are definitely some repairs that have been made in this, so that's one reason for sure I want to double check. Like, that's a new cap, I'm pretty sure that guy is. And it wouldn't be the first time that Service Tech didn't put in the original value, he just put in what he had handy. I've been making steady progress, replacing all the old paper caps. As I said earlier, lots of ooey gooey sticky caps. But so far all the values have matched the schematic. And I've got a much better feel for the chassis now that I have a pretty good sense of when I look at stuff on the chassis, I can find it on here without too much trouble. Now I'm working down in this area. And from my experience working on vintage TVs, focus number 1 on the power supply, number 2 on this stuff. This is the horizontal output tube and damper tube and oscillator. This would be the horizontal oscillator coil. I think that's what they call it. Actually, they don't call it anything, but that's that transformer right there. I'm not sure if this is used as a synchro glide or synchro lock or not, but I know on later Admiral sets like the 20X1, Y1, Z1 series, they use something very similar looking to that, only it's mounted over here instead of over here. Alright, so I noticed that Capacitors up in here and over in here all seem to be original. Down here, mostly replaced. And not only that, but I checked resistors throughout this area, pretty much all within tolerance. Down here, not so much. So for example, there is a 100 ohm resistor on that horizontal output tube going to pin 8, which I imagine is fairly important to the correct operation of this circuit. Well, what do we have? 168. So it's 68% high. Not so good. This guy, which I thought was a capacitor at first, is actually a power resistor. 25K to be specific. But what do we have? 40. So both of those are coming out. Now if you're wondering about checking resistors when they're in circuit, I always check them first in circuit. If they measure high, guaranteed they gotta go. If they measure low, they may or may not be bad. There might be something in parallel with them affecting the resistance. You could never have a component connected to a resistor that's going to make its value higher than it actually is unless you got the set turned on. As long as all the power is drained out of it and it's just passive components, nothing will cause a resistor to increase in value unless the resistor itself has actually increased in value. So I am going to make spend extra attention in this area and replace all this stuff. You want to make sure this is good. Oh, and this gooey mess down in here, that is the horizontal damper tube, I do believe. So horizontal output, horizontal damper. All that stuff really critical to the operation of the set, both generating the high voltage and providing the horizontal sweep on the CRT. And the third most important thing, I think, would be the vertical circuitry, which I'm not 100% sure. I think it's one of these two guys, the output transformer, that is. This has 2 filter chokes and a vertical output transformer, and I think a vertical blocking oscillator transformer. That's what we've got, 4 of these. You know what? No, it's not right. Scratch that. I think I made the same mistake in an earlier video. This transformer is a power transformer specifically for the damper tube. There's a dedicated transformer for it because you get some nasty voltages in there. Even though they used, I think, a 6W4, which I think was specifically designed so that you could use it in parallel with other tubes because its cathode and heater are not connected internally. I think in older damper tubes like a 5V4, one side of the filament is hardwired into the tube to the cathode, so it has to have dedicated filaments. But pretty sure I've worked in other sets for the 6W4 which is wired in parallel with the other tubes too. But Dumont, being Dumont, they like to go overboard, so this transformer is to power one tube. And then of course there's a huge power transformer. So one of these two guys is a vertical output transformer, which I should really probably check now that I think about it, because I have not so far. And if that's bad, I'm going to track one down. So let's see. Oh, which reminds me, there's something else kind of odd in this set. A vertical deflection amplifier is just a 6SN7 dual triode that they just hardwired in parallel. So plate, grid, cathode all wired together to double the output power of the tube. I don't think I've ever seen that in a TV before. Normally they would use a beam power tube like a 6V6 to power the vertical output tube, not bother with taking a dual triode and wiring it in parallel. More typically you see 6SN7s used for oscillators and the sync circuitry, like sync amplifier or clipper. So I don't know why they would bother with that. Anyways, there, vertical output transformer. So we should have 590 on one side and 5.9 on the other. Blue, red, green, yellow. So, I know I was working in this area last night because you can see I replaced all the components that are in yellow. So I'll track that down, then I can trace out the wiring and figure out where that transformer is. Okay, this is that vertical output tube with the triodes wired in parallel. I traced out the wiring, and it turns out that this is vertical output transformer. The yellow, green go to the yoke, and red and blue primary. On primary, 592 ohms, which is pretty darn close to what they had in the schematic, 590. And I already checked the secondary, and it does indeed look good. So that's one more thing to check off the list. Alright, now I'm going to focus the rest of my time down in here. When I ordered up parts for this, I made a point of trying to get all the oddball resistor values, but 25K is a little odd. I think 24K, 24K is the closest modern equivalent. So yeah, I did get some, I thought so. Oh, no, 4.3. Reading that wrong. Did I get some? I don't know if I got one. I recall having trouble at Mauser finding some of these values. I'm 100% sure I ordered one. I'll double check my order. If not, I'll have to dig through my stash of power resistors, see if I have any. I went through my stash of boxed new old stock resistors and found all the 20K that I could ever need, but no 25K. So now I'm digging through the box that was kindly donated a few weeks ago and found lots of interesting stuff, but no 25K 5 watt or better so far. A lot of thermistors, a lot of varistors, a lot of degaussing stuff, a lot of stuff for color TVs. I'm sure these are familiar to you guys that restore color TVs. So I'll keep digging. Oh, and lots of nice boxed 1 and 2 watt carbon comps. If these are still within tolerance, it'd be very handy for doing some of my more in-depth restorations when I try to retain the original look. I got more to dig through, so I haven't given up yet. Otherwise, I'm placing an order with Mauser Electronics because I need some other stuff anyway, so I'll just order up a new one. But this certainly gave me an excuse to finally go through this entire box. And finally, I stopped by my local Menards and found these lovely $1.98 flush cutters. I got a feeling they're going to not work very well and not last very long. Otherwise, Mauser's got what I think are a little bit higher quality for about $5 each. So I'll give these a try tonight. I'll see how they hold up. If they don't hold up well, I'll just order some. It's crazy. I went to a few other hardware stores. I don't even have them. Or you had to buy a whole assortment of hand tools just to get the flush cutter. So I ended up placing an order with Mauser after all, because I just couldn't find all the stuff I needed. It also gave me a chance to order up a pair of Exolite flush cutters, just like the ones that broke. But I gotta tell you, these may only be $1.98 or whatever, but they actually do work all right. Just these grips feel horrible. They're hard plastic, whereas these have a bit of cushion to them. So what did I get? Well, here's that power resistor I needed, the 25K. And I went with some ceramic high voltage caps, 500 picofarad. And the originals were 10,000 volt. These are good for 15,000 volt. So not only are these the right capacitance rather than the 1,000 picofarad plastic film caps I was thinking of using, but these are also rated 50% higher voltage, so I think these will work out better. Oh, and they cost less than half of what those high voltage plastic film caps cost. And then there were some other few odds and ends, resistor values I was running low on. So was almost tragic because I just stepped into the bathroom and I heard the doorbell ring briefly. By the time I got down there, the FedEx guy took off and he didn't deliver my package, which was very unusual because I've been using FedEx for most of my orders, and they always, in the past, left the package somewhere on the property behind a plant or by the back door somewhere. This guy just left a tag. The next delivery attempt will be on Monday, which means I would lose the whole weekend of working on this set. But then I finally noticed that, hey, after 6 p.m. you can go pick it up at the local distribution point, which is only about a mile away from where I live. So, and they're open until 9:30 at night on a Friday, so I just got back from going over there to pick these up. So I won't be able to finish recapping tonight, but hopefully over the weekend I'll replace enough of these parts that I'm going to slide this back into the cabinet and try powering it up and see if we can get some light on that picture tube. So in the end, I ended up placing an order with Mauser after all, because I just couldn't find all the stuff